In today's lesson, we're going to start turning our attention towards three-dimensional shapes. To do that, we're first going to start off with some basic vocabulary and parts of three-dimensional objects. So let's start with what are faces. So faces of three-dimensional shapes are any of the surfaces, including the bases. A lateral face does not include the base. So what is a base? The base of a three-dimensional shape names the shape. So if we call something a rectangular prism or a cube, we'll get that from the base and what shape that is. A prism has two bases which are parallel to each other and do not touch. Now, if you don't know what parallel means, parallel or things that are parallel are objects that never intersect. They're always the same distance apart. So one example of that would be train tracks. Trains run on rails and the rails are always parallel. They never cross over. If you look at a door frame, the left and the right side of the door frame are parallel. They're always the same distance apart. Next is the vertex. So a vertex is a corner of a three-dimensional shape. And finally we have an edge. The edge is the line segment that joins two faces. So it might be hard to picture what these are given the definitions. So let's look at some pictures of 3D objects where we've pointed out the different parts of it. So here we go. We're going to label the edge, the face, and the base of each of the shapes below. So first up, here we have a rectangular prism on the left. And we have a cube on the right. So, how are cubes and rectangular prisms the same? Well, both a rectangular prism and a cube have 8 vertices, 12 edges, and 6 faces. So vertices, which is plural for vertex, are the edges, the corners where the edges meet. So right here, these are vertexes. Right, and if I just make this three-dimensional by drawing little dashed lines, right, I'd have a corner back here as well. So those are the vertexes on the cube. These are our vertexes. They have 12 edges. I'll do those in orange. So here's an edge, there's an edge, 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 right. They go from one vertex to another. So these are all edges, including in the back there, the ones we can't see. And they have 6 faces. So this is a face. Oops, let's do this in highlighter. So we have a face here. That's the front. There's the right side, the top, the back, the bottom, and so on. If we look at the cube, it's the same thing. So this right here is a face. This would be the front face. Right, so I'll list them out. Might be easier that way. So there's a front to the cube. And in the cube, if there's a front, there's a back side. So we know there's 2 faces there. There's the left and right. And then there's also the top face, which is a base, and the bottom. So top and bottom. And they are base faces. Okay, so there's 6 faces. So that's how rectangular prisms and cubes are the same. A cube is a specific type of rectangular prism. What makes a cube unique? Well, cubes are unique because they have congruent faces. And that word congruent means same size and shape. And they also have equal length edges. Rectangular prisms, on the other hand, have rectangular faces that are not all congruent. So not all of the faces for a rectangular prism are the same size and shape. So just going back to the cube here, the faces, this front face here is the same size and shape as the back. This right side here, the right face, is the same size and shape as the front and the left side. In fact, every face is the same exact size and shape. On the rectangular prism, however, that's not true. The front here and the back might be the same size and shape, but the right side and the left side could be different sizes. They're still rectangles, but they're not the same size as the front and the back, or even the top and the bottom. So that's what makes them different. Okay, so let's look now at the different types of 3D shapes that we have. We have prisms and pyramids. So what are prisms? A prism is a solid figure with two parallel bases that are separated by the height of the figure, and the bases are congruent. So a prism is a solid shape with two parallel bases that are separated by the height of the figure. So if I go back to here, and we look at this image here of this prism, two parallel bases, so let's just say this top one here, and then the bottom part, right? There would be a bottom side to this shape. Let's just make this a little more 3D. All right, so if this was a rectangular box, the top of the box and the bottom of the box, they're parallel. They never intersect. So they're parallel, never intersect, and then they're separated by the height of the shape, which would be this edge here, right? There's the height. So those green faces are separated by the height of the object. And the bases are also congruent. So not only are those green bases parallel, meaning they'll never intersect, they're also congruent, which is, remember, means that they're the same size and shape. So that's how you can tell if something's a prism, and the same is true of the cube. If we go back and look at the cube, just make this look a little more three-dimensional. So now we can see the front, the bottom, the back, and the left side. These bases here are parallel, and they're separated by the height of the object, which are these edges here. So that's what prisms are. Now let's look at pyramids. So pyramids. A pyramid is a solid figure with one base and triangular faces. The height of a pyramid forms a right angle with the base. Pyramids are named by their base. Right, so a pyramid is a solid shape with one base. So there's no top and bottom like in a rectangular prism or a cube. Right, instead of two bases like this one here, there's only one base in a pyramid, and it has triangular faces. And the height of the pyramid forms a right angle. So let's take a look at one of those. So on the back page here, we're going to complete the chart by identifying the unique properties of each 3D shape. Use colored pencils to shade the various parts according to the directions. Okay, so let's just look at a pyramid first before you guys try to name all of these. So here's an example of a pyramid. So as you recall from the previous page, a pyramid will have one base, and that would be this part here. There's our one base, and you can see, look, it's a rectangle. So that's where we get the rectangular part of the name. And the height of the pyramid forms a right angle. So I'll just do this in red. Now here's the height. You got to look carefully. This is the height that goes from the very peak, from that vertex, down to the base. And here's our right angle. So this is 90 degrees right there where the height meets the base. So it's a rectangular pyramid. Now, how many total faces are there? Total faces. There's the base. So I like to actually go in and number them. There's the base. There's this front side here. So I'm going to do it like this. There's the base. There's the front. There's a right side. There's a left side. And there's a back. So that would be 5 faces. And the faces are triangles and a rectangle. So there's 5 triangles and 1 rectangle. Right? Now it wants us to actually shade these in with these colors here, and I did the opposite. So let's try this again. So bases are going to be shaded in red. So here's my base shaded in red. It wants the vertices in green. So our vertexes in green. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's all of them. There's our vertexes. And then we need the edges in purple. So we'll do our edges in purple. So 1 edge, 2 edges, 3, 4, 5, and then this one at the back. So 6 edges. So 1 rectangle. Oh, no, I forgot some. 7, 8. So there are 8 edges. So that's how we'll fill this side of the page in. So we're going to try to name each of the shapes. We'll count out how many total faces there are. We're going to shade the bases in with red, the vertices in with green, the edges with purple. I have colored pencils at the front of the room. You can use those. If you want to use different colors, that's fine. So if you want to do the bases blue, just cross red out on your paper, put blue, and then use a blue colored pencil. So let's do those. We'll pause the video here. And when we're done, maybe after, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, we'll check the answers. Okay, so here are the answers. So the first shape is a cube. It has 6 total faces that are squares. There are 2 bases. They are squares. There are 8 vertices and 12 edges. The second shape is a rectangular prism. There are 6 rectangles as faces, 2 bases, 8 vertices, and 12 edges. The third shape is a triangular prism. There are 5 total faces, which are rectangles and triangles. The bases are 2 triangles. The vertices, there are 6 of them, and the edges are purple. We already did the pyramid, the rectangular one. The next or last one is a triangular pyramid. There are 4 faces and they're triangles. The base of the shape is a triangle. There are 4 vertices and 6 edges.